Something brought you here today, and I don't believe it's random. Maybe you've been grinding for months, and no one around you seems to notice. Maybe you trusted someone, shared your dream, and they laughed, not the supportive kind, but the quiet, dismissive, "Yeah, good luck with that." Or maybe it's simpler. You're tired of explaining, tired of waiting for others to believe in something you already feel deep in your bones. If you see yourself in any of that, listen, you're exactly where you need to be. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "What does not kill us makes us stronger." But life doesn't tell you. The second half, the part Viktor Frankl discovered, real transformation isn't in the suffering itself, but in the meaning you choose to give it. Two people can walk through the same storm. One comes out bitter, the other comes out stronger. The difference isn't the situation, it's the decision. This video isn't for people who need attention, who want to perform, who need to announce everything to the world. It's for the quiet ones, the focused ones, the ones who keep going, the ones who work when no one is watching, no applause, no expectations, no validation. I'm going to walk you through 6 decisions, the principles of people who win in silence, how they turn being underestimated into an advantage, how they cut out mental noise, the emotional cost of outgrowing old relationships, what real discipline looks like without supervision, why announcing your goals often kills your drive, and why playing the long game is the sharpest weapon you have. Does being underestimated hurt? Of course it does. But here's the truth. It's a gift if you're aware enough to use it. Most people get this wrong. They want respect before they've created anything worth respecting. They want titles before they have skills. They want recognition before results. And when no one sees them as somebody, they take it personally. You're different. If you're being underestimated, you have an advantage that people in the spotlight never get the freedom to grow in the dark. In real competition, attention isn't just visibility, it's pressure. People watch you, measure you, prepare against you, try to figure you out, but when no one is watching, you get to experiment, fail, adjust, upgrade, pivot, and build your skills without interruption. Psychology calls this the underdog effect. When expectations are low, the pressure to perform a certain image disappears. You don't have to protect a reputation. You don't have to prove anything with words. You're lighter, and that lightness makes you more resilient, more consistent, more creative. The biggest mistake underestimated people make: they rush to explain. They try to defend themselves in conversations. They start sharing plans too early. They feel the need to prove they'll succeed. That's a trap. Other people's doubt is not your measurement, it's just the limit of their own experience. When they say it's impossible, they're really saying, "I couldn't do it." You don't need to argue. You need to work. No announcements. No presentations. No explanations. Let results speak, and results speak in a language no one can argue with: performance. So let them underestimate you. Good. The less noise, the more space you have to build. Bottom line, being underestimated won't break you. It gives you the space to become the version of yourself that proves them wrong without saying a word. Marcus Aurelius said something simple but powerful enough to kill 90% of life's drama. You have control over your mind, not external events. The problem is, most people nod in agreement, and 5 minutes later, they let one negative comment ruin their entire day. Principle #2 isn't about staying silent to look cool. And it's not about becoming cold or emotionless. Ignoring is an active choice. You decide where your attention goes each day. Attention is a limited resource. Your brain isn't as good at multitasking as you think. Every time you process a social threat, being judged, criticized, compared, or looked down on, it drains energy from the parts of your brain you need for creativity, analysis, and action. You say you want to build something meaningful, but you keep spending your mental energy on other people's opinions. That's a slow form of self-sabotage that many people mistake for being sensitive. You have tens of thousands of thoughts every day. People who struggle with anxiety and insecurity often waste most of them managing how they appear to others. What do they think of me? Do they respect me? Am I falling behind? While you're performing these mental dramas, real life stands still. Ignoring them means this: don't let other people live rent-free in your head. And there's something even more dangerous: your environment. In psychology, it's called emotional contagion. Emotions spread like a virus. It's not that you're weak, your brain is wired to sync with the people around you. So if you're constantly around fear, negativity, and small thinking, you'll start to absorb it and mistake it for reality. It's not reality, it's toxic air. The solution doesn't require dramatic announcements. You don't need to cut people off publicly. Just reduce exposure, follow fewer accounts that make you feel inferior, spend less time in conversations that drain you, and stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided not to understand. You're protecting something fragile but essential: your belief in yourself before you have proof. Bottom line, ignoring isn't arrogance. It's mental hygiene. Listen, this is the part of self-growth people love to sugarcoat, but it's actually the most painful. You will outgrow some people, not because you're better than them, but because you start living by new standards: how you spend your time, your discipline, your goals, what's worth talking about and what's just noise. And when your standards change, your old conversations start to feel empty. Group chats that used to be fun feel hollow. Nights out start to feel repetitive. You laugh at something you once found funny and realize you don't feel it anymore. The hard part is, it doesn't happen all at once. It's quiet, subtle. It feels like you're shrinking yourself to fit into a space you've already outgrown. Then comes the guilt. Am I being arrogant? Is wanting more a betrayal? Will I lose people if I change? That guilt is worth facing, honestly, because it means you truly cared. People who don't care walk away without feeling anything. You feel pain because there was real connection, but don't lie to yourself. Shrinking won't save the relationship. It only creates a tired, frustrated version of you, one that's pretending, and that version is even harder for others to be around. Outgrowing someone doesn't mean cutting them off. It means continuing forward. The loneliness in this phase is normal. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Bottom line, don't be afraid of loneliness when you're growing. It's just a transition before you meet people who match your frequency. When people hear Outwork, they picture 4 a.m. wake-ups, aesthetic desks, and motivational stories. That's nonsense. Real Outwork is boring. It's not cinematic. No one claps. It's the 15 minutes you squeeze in between tasks. It's a random Tuesday night when you're exhausted, but still practice one more skill. It's doing the work when no one is watching, no deadlines, no pressure, no praise. That's where people get separated. Most people perform well when they're being watched. Give them a boss, pressure, or consequences, they'll try. But remove the supervision, and their standards drop immediately. The excuses sound reasonable. I'll make it up tomorrow. One day off won't hurt. I deserve to relax. And yes, one day doesn't matter. But repeat that one day 200 times a year. and you become a completely different person, slower, weaker, and further behind. If you want to win through discipline, stop relying on motivation. Build a system instead. Decide in advance when, where, and what you'll do. You don't have to love it, you just have to do it. Discipline isn't a feeling, it's a habit. Put your head down and work during the invisible hours, the time no one sees or measures, because that's where the real gap is created. Bottom line, everyone has 1-2 invisible hours a day. Winners use them to build, losers use them to scroll. There's a very common but stupid trap. The moment you set a goal, you feel the urge to announce it. You want to tell people to lock it in with the universe, to get validation, to prove you're serious. It sounds positive, but in reality, it often kills your plan before it even starts. Why? Because your brain craves rewards. When you share your goal and get a few, that's awesome. Some likes, some praise, your brain mistakes that for real progress, you feel like you've already moved forward, even though you haven't done the work. And when the reward comes before the effort, your urgency drops. You think you're on the path, but you're really just high on approval. I'm not saying you should hide everything. I'm saying you need to understand the difference between two types of sharing. Sharing for accountability. Someone tracks your progress, checks in, pushes you to act. Sharing for applause before you start. Real winners usually do the opposite of what most people do. They build quietly. No constant updates. No need for an audience. When the results show up, they don't need to explain, because results speak in a language no one can argue with. Bottom line, don't use your words to fake progress. Use action. Build in silence. Let results talk. The final principle is the one that breaks 99% of people halfway through playing the long game. Not the passive kind waiting for luck, but active patience. You keep showing up, keep improving. Even when the scoreboard doesn't move. And from 2025 onward, this is even harder, because social media has completely distorted your sense of time. Everywhere you look, it's 6 figures in 30 days, 100K followers in 6 months. Life changed in a year. It can be real, but that's the highlight reel. The algorithm pushes. The process is hidden, so your brain gets tricked. You see others as fast. Assume you're slow, and conclude you're not good enough. The truth is, progress usually has a long invisible phase. James Clear calls it the plateau of latent potential. It's like ice sitting at 25-31 degrees. Nothing seems to change. Then, at 32 degrees, it suddenly melts. Most people quit at 31 because they think nothing is happening. But something is happening. You're accumulating. Playing long-term also means separating your ego from daily results. Some days, your only win is that you showed up and did what needed to be done. And that has to be enough for today. Bottom line, winners don't win because they're faster. They win because they can stay in the game when nothing seems to be happening, and they don't quit. In the end, all 6 principles come down to one thing: who you choose to be when no one is watching. If people underestimate you, treat it as an advantage to train in the dark. If there's noise all around you, cut it out. Your attention is an asset, not something to rent out to everyone else. Growth will feel lonely for a while. Don't panic. It's just a transition space before you find people on your wavelength. If you want to rise above the crowd, your discipline has to live in the invisible hours when no one is watching. If you want to build something meaningful, talk less. Don't trade words for the cheap feeling of progress. And above all, play the long game, because real power is built quietly, then shows up in a way no one can ignore. You don't need to prove anything to anyone right now. You just need to do the right things. Every day. When the scoreboard changes, there's nothing left to argue about.